see if this is gonna work. Yeah, I think this is working. Okay, just gonna. Yeah, I'm just gonna wait a little bit, guys, just to start the stream. Yeah, I think. Okay, so I'll probably just start like this and we'll go from there. Let me just do one more thing and I'll speak shortly. All right. Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. So, yeah, so what I want to do today is very straightforward. I just want to take like 30 minutes or something like that. Not more than that, because there is the earnings call at 6 p.m. Eastern for Tesla, and I wanted to hear it out, and I got other things to do. But I did want to go over their latest earnings report that just basically was released in the last hour or so. So I wanted to go over it, talk a little bit about the markets, talk a little bit about genomics, an interview with ARK Invest. And then if you have any questions, feedback, just leave me in the comments below, guys. Or sorry, in the chats, actually, better yet, in the live chat. How do you view the figures? Great long-term prospect. Absolutely. Hey, Anoop. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do here. Again, if you guys need more like descriptive, like specific understanding with each of the line, I highly advise you guys to watch other channels on YouTube like Dave Lee, Rob Maurer. I think they go really, really line by line. But me, basically, what I'm looking at is basically what's the revenues. Actually, to be honest with you, if I just go look at their hypercharts .co and I go with the Tesla stock, I basically just look at this figure here, right? This graph here, quarter by quarter. Clearly, you can see here, the line's just been going up. This is 21 quarter four, basically the last quarter. Today's earnings report is covering 2021 quarter number four. And clearly, you can see here the revenues segments, basically $17.7 billion dollars, as opposed to Q4 2020, because that's what you have to compare to, right? Year over year. That's the whole point of quarter analysis, right? You have to compare what happened in Q4 2020. I know we always want to compare the quarter before it, but just like every other business out there, especially in technology, you want to compare what's going on in the year previously of Q4. So basically, in this case, it would be 2020 Q4. You compare that and look at that $10.7 billion revenue in 2020 Q4 compared to the earnings report that we just got today. That's at 17.7 billion, right? Honestly, I, me personally as an investor, I just look at these numbers because I'm looking at the revenues and I'm looking at the trajectory long term. Even quarter by quarter, it's like really, really short minded. But if you look at it, the big picture year over year, that's when you start looking at data points, you start looking at trends. And to me, this is 7+ billions of revenues just year over year. Like if you just compare quarter from 2020. So I mean, obviously, I'm still going to look at each of these lines and try to understand how the business is doing, specifically this column here compared to the previous quarter. Because clearly, you can see 17 billions revenues, and you see here it is year over year, it's 65%. That is basically the figure I was talking about. Gross profit, 135% up. We're looking at operating margins, right? We're looking at the gross margin for automobile, which is basically their main segment of the revenue at 30.6%, which is crazy good, right? The legacy autos don't even come near that number, right? And there was a time that people said electrical vehicles would not be profitable, and clearly they're profitable, right? So that's pretty cool. So look at this, net cash, $4.5 billion net cash, right? Provided by operating activities. So that those are big numbers just by quarter over quarter, right? These are really big numbers, right? Um, Now, if you just scroll down a little bit here, I did want to talk a little bit about these highlights here. So revenues, obviously 65% year over year, quarter four to $17.7 billion. So growth in vehicle deliveries, we already talked about it. They broke records in deliveries and growth in other parts of the business. I think the energy side of the things were a little bit stalled. If you go back here, I'm not sure if we can find. Oh, I think we'll see it later on. Yeah, we'll see it later on. But the energy side of the business was a little bit weak, but it's okay. I mean, it's part of the game long term. That's what it counts, right? I mean, for now, it's all about automobiles. It's all about auto revenues, and it's gonna be that for a little while, until we get robo taxis out, Tesla insurance, and a little bit more deployment in energy and a little bit more traction of that. For now, it's always going to be automobiles, specifically the Model S, X, obviously, Model 3 and Y, and then in the future, Cybertrucks and Tesla semis. So clearly, you can see here these numbers here: total deliveries 308.6K vehicles delivered. And just don't forget, this is one quarter. GM, the leader of electrical vehicles, they delivered 26 electrical vehicles. So take that for what you will. But Tesla is obviously delivering a lot more than 26 electrical vehicles. Obviously, I'm poking fun of GM here. So here you see solar deployed here. Solar deployed, I think a lot of people expect them to deliver more than 85. That figure was expected to be something more similar to like 90s and so on. But obviously we reached 85. That's -1 year over year. Again, these are small numbers in the grand scheme of things. I would love to have seen more of energy here, but it is what it is. Clearly, you can also see their store and service location grew 25% year over year, and that is obviously important. This is referencing to the Now You Know episode where they like trash the service side of the business of Tesla. Obviously, they're doing a lot more in service, as you can clearly see here from this figure um, here. So superchargers, right? Increasing over 36% stations, right? Look at this, guys. These are serious numbers because then you can they're sort of positioning themselves to become a PaaS business, right? Power as a service, right? We already saw the announcement from Tesla opening up from last quarter. They announced that they would open up their superchargers to non-Tesla electrical vehicles, and that is obviously going to be revenues for them. Obviously, they'll be able to charge a premium compared to individuals that do own Tesla for obvious reasons. So that's going to be a nice business, but this is, setting themselves up for success in the future. Hey, Vadim, thank you for joining. Obviously, I'm going to talk about CRISPR and so on just shortly, guys. But I did want to go over this revenues balance sheet and obviously their income statement here and some highlights here. But I mean, it's very clear that they're breaking records in terms of revenues, in terms of vehicles delivered. Clearly, here you can see U.S., China, and Berlin. Those are obviously the big regions for them. Specifically, Texas, Berlin, and Shanghai. And you can see here they're sort of projecting this many vehicles right now. They already have everything in Shanghai in production. They're expecting more than 450,000 vehicles to be delivered. I'm expecting more than 500K at this point with the expansion in Shanghai. I'm expecting Berlin and Texas to come online in late 2022 or at latest early 2023. And I'm talking about like full production, right? I'm not just talking about a few couple vehicles here and there, which they've already done actually. If you've seen the leaks out there, they've already been pumping out a little bit of vehicles in Berlin, a little bit of vehicles in Texas. Just take a look at the leaks in vehicles with drone shots and so on. You'll see those, right? So really, really good. Extend the overall capability of 600,000 a year. This is just for Fremont, which is their first generation factory. Just think about it, right? It's already been said that Fremont's factory, which is the first generation factory of Tesla, is literally the factory that is pumping out the most vehicles in 2021. It's already been determined. This is Ford, GM, Toyota, all these companies involved. Weekly basis, Fremont factory is the one pumping out the most vehicles. I think it's at 8.6 or 8.8K compared to the number two spot, which is at Toyota in US at 8.4K. So take that for what you will, guys. Vehicles delivery go clearly, you can see here Tesla is leading the way. There was a time, if you guys remember, there was a narrative that people were believing that, unfortunately, people were saying at the time that Tesla would not be profitable, Tesla would not be comparable when it comes to profits, revenues with legacy autos. But clearly here you can see legacy autos pumping out dirty oil cars and electrical vehicles. Tesla is doing it at scale. The only one that's fully focused in this list of legacy autos here. Tesla is the one delivering electrical vehicles. I mean, GM is delivering 26 electrical vehicles. They're not even close to that discussion, right? So Tesla is obviously leading in terms of electrical vehicles, in terms of profits, revenues when it comes to just automobiles in general, right? So this is just amazing, right? Just think about the margin percentage, right? That's what you need to focus on. And then there's the energy storage of the business, which no other legacy auto is doing. So they're competing in different verticals here. But this is going to take time to develop. They're putting their trend line here that's saying that by basically 2021 compared to 2020 is increasing. So they're basically shifting your focus in the yearly basis. I just saw the Tesla call started. I will definitely jump on it shortly, but I did want to finish here with some photos and charts. So clearly here, guys, you can see beautiful photos, what's going on in Giga Berlin. These are real people with a real factory, with real boxes, with real vehicles, with real production factories. And then you see Texas is just enormous, huge, right? I've heard some anecdotal stories. Those are huge, big factories. Um, just amazing, right? Beautiful pictures here. Shanghai is, we've already gotten many pictures from Shanghai, but it's clearly expanding at a scale. It's really going full production at this point. Tesla semis, clearly you can see they're beautiful semis. They're going to disrupt the trucking industry. I've said it in the past, and I'll say it again. Tesla semis will literally abolish the legacy trucking industry. Moving goods from A point B, they'll definitely change the game here. And then there's financial statements here that I won't go over, but again, I want to direct your focus back to the revenue segments, right? Or if you want to go a little more specific to the operating income, right? Just look at gross profits increasing quarter over quarter, year over year. It is very clear to me and to you at this point, should be clear to you that Tesla trend is going up. This company is generating billions and billions of revenues year over year, 65% plus or year over year, and clearly they are a profitable company and they're reinvesting a lot of these profits back to R&D. And what's interesting is that with AI and with the economies of scale, they don't actually need to invest at the same scale at their growth in revenues, right? So basically, for I'm just giving an example. Let's say they spend $1 billion in their R&D, while they don't have to spend another billion to get another revenue billion of revenue, right? Their revenues is growing exponentially at this point, right? Because of the numbers of cars delivered, because of their profit margins on their cars. So really interesting what's going on with the company is really beautiful. I didn't want to sort of end this live stream with a little bit about markets in general. And again, it's congratulations to all Tesla shareholders and everyone at Tesla. They're working very hard. I mean, this is a narrative we known, and this is what moving on to CRISPR here, a company like CRISPR Therapeutics, we'll be talking about these types of numbers and these types of projections and trends in the next years. But right now, obviously, we're still early. There is no FDA commercial available CRISPR drug. And this is what, a lot of us, from the Tesla community is sort of betting on when it comes to CRISPR. CRISPR companies like CRISPR Therapeutics, they've been down like, so hard since early 2021. Look at this, guys. This is crazy. 70+% down, decline. This is just one company. Beam Therapeutics down over 50%, NTLA down over 50%, Kaibu Biosciences down well over 50%. Verve Therapeutics, all these opportunities, right? All these opportunities. And for you as an investor, you have to check these trend lines and try to understand, obviously we're in a bear market. Obviously, these companies had a huge run up in early 2021, late 2020. But can we make the statement that we're back in this new norm? I think we are. I think we're still in this bear market. I do expect us to trade sidelines for a bit. But when things start shooting up, when the FDA starts, hopefully at some point approving CRISPR drugs in the next few years, more specifically in late 2022, this year and early 2023, we may see a word from the FDA for CTX001. What happens, right? What happens when they approve, a CRISPR drug? To me, this is just going to revolutionize the space. I think a lot of people will be taken back. A lot of people will shoot themselves in the foot for not looking into this space, in my opinion. Again, not financial advice. You guys do your own research, but um, we always say in this channel that, look, you're right now you're paying not just for the bet, but also for the promise of CRISPR. To me, in my opinion, Beam Therapeutics deal with Pfizer solidified the position of CRISPR in the biotech space in big pharma. You may be, drawn to make the conclusion that this is specifically to base editors. I solely disagree with that statement, and I've said it in the past. But Beam Therapeutics deal with Pfizer is a win for all of CRISPR space, right? For CRISPR-Cas9 double-stranded breaks, for Verve Therapeutics base editors, PCSK9, for Caribou Biosciences proprietary Chaldonese rDNA, for Editas, for NTLA, in vivo. It's all a win for all of these companies because you are putting validity to CRISPR. And the biggest thing that CRISPR needs right now is validity, okay? Because we have all these academic papers being published, we have all these companies working on CRISPR, but there is no FDA approved drug. But the closest thing to an FDA approved drug is big pharma companies, huge companies like Pfizer, literally the biggest biotech slash healthcare company, big pharma company, looking at this space and basically being drawn to this space, and basically drawing up these business deals, which is just amazing, right? I'm just thrown to say, and I say with high conviction that CRISPR is here to stay, and biotech companies are here to stay, whether that's Invitae, DNA, Ginkgo Bioworks, obviously, BNGO, Pacific Biosciences. I mean, Big Ideas 2022 report revealed, we covered it yesterday's video, but ARK Invest are sort of betting on that fact, right? The cost of sequencing genomes is decreasing drastically, and you have all these companies coming into play. And now, for the first time, for the longest time in the history of biotech, which is very short when you think about it, right? You could make the argument that it all started since the human genome project when it started in the 90s, but I would make the argument that CRISPR, the 2012 paper, changed a lot of things, right? And in my opinion, it hasn't even been 10 years since we've seen these public markets grown to where it is today. So you're gonna see high volatility. I think it's completely normal to see that. I think it's completely fair to see that. I think you as an investor, you have to accept that. It's like Bitcoin in the early days, right? Or Tesla in the early days. Like today, it's very easy for us to say, yeah, Tesla is $1 trillion company. But when it was worth two, three, four, five, $6 billion, or even $25 billion market cap, people were just like baffling on the idea that Tesla would ever be $100 billion company. And look at today, one plus trillion, and we're expecting them to potentially be a two, three, $4 trillion company in the next years. I mean, it's just mind-boggling, right? And that concept stays the same for CRISPR companies, right? CRISPR companies, and there's this interview here from Ali Yerman from ARK Invest. CRISPR revolution, new era of genome editing with Kevin Davies, right? Kevin Davies is known in this space. Uh, I love his British accent. Actually, I was listening to this podcast episode on my way back from my business meeting, my day job. But the idea here is that they talk about CRISPR, they talk about Nobel Prize winner. Jennifer Doudna. They talk about a lot about the history of CRISPR, and specifically about where it stands right now and where it may be potentially going in the future. And this is a great podcast episode. But my point of bringing this episode up is that genome editing is here to stay. CRISPR is here to stay. I mean, to your point, Anoop and Vadim, CRISPR is definitely underrated. It is definitely a great company, CRISPR Therapeutics, obviously. But all of these companies are great, right? All these companies are tackling novel ideas, addressing human diseases, specifically some diseases that have no cure. And if there is a cure, it's not really a cure, it's more of a treatment. And if it is a treatment, it's not really a one-time or two-time treatment. This is literally a weekly basis. We talk a lot about Regeneron's PCSK9 drug that basically inhibits it and basically reduces potential probability of heart diseases, but that has to be taken on a weekly basis and it's extremely costly and it's not available to the masses, as opposed to what Verve Therapeutics are trying to tackle, which is basically a one-time CRISPR treatment. You just inject yourself one time in vivo base editor and boom, you basically solve your heart disease, or at least reduce your probability of having a heart disease. And then we sort of, we can make extra, we can extrapolate that with like Invitae that's trying to tackle immunology and basically tell your patient, say, hey, you're at risk of having cancer in the future, right? You're at risk of having heart disease, right, in the future. So we recommend you to get, you know, to get treatment, right? And this treatment would be a CRISPR-based therapy, right? We already know there's 150 therapies right now, CRISPR-based therapies in the world. 120 of them are owned and done by at least by CRISPR Therapeutics, which is obviously the leading company when it comes to clinical trials with CRISPR-based therapies. But my point here is that genomics is more than just one segment, right? It's not like technology, right? You have social media, and then you have e-commerce, and then you have fintech, right? By nature of genomics, the nature of healthcare, the nature of the whole point of advancing with genome editing is that everything is intertwined, right? That was a beautiful intertwined graph by Ark Invest there, and I want to direct you guys to that report from Ark Invest, and basically it was stating that genome editing is all about sequencing, it's all about AI, big data, machine learning. All these technologies converge, right? And all these technologies allow delays to be reduced, cost to be reduced. They reduce the barriers of entry, and basically they allow these companies to have a business case to tackle all of the diseases. And if there is no business case, and if it is very hard to tackle a particular disease, and this is where the FDA, EMA, or Health Canada, or other regulators, they step in and they basically say, look, we're gonna give you incentives to tackle these diseases for a segment of our population, similar to what we saw with type 1 diabetes in Canada with Health Canada and Biosite CRISPR Therapeutics, what we're seeing here with CAR T programs, specifically in US with CTX 110, 120, 130 from CRISPR Therapeutics, or even from NTLA, they were granted some sort of authorization from the FDA. Actually, now that I think about it, I just saw, Mammoth getting not the FDA approval, but they got some sort of authorization for their pandemic testing tool hardware, because Mammoth Biosciences is not just a genome editing company, right? They do diagnostics. So I love what they're doing there. I would wish and hope that CRISPR companies, current CRISPR companies, being therapeutics, CRISPR therapeutics, they don't just focus on CRISPR as a technology and just try to get as many clinical trials there, but also focus on the whole picture, right? Diagnostic, mapping, sequencing. Obviously, you need the talent pool. Obviously, it would be better just to partner up. But I would love them to see more of that, right? Similar to what Teladoc is doing with Invitae. So I think right now, guys, I think right now the markets are just trading sideways. There's a lot to see in these markets. There's a lot to happen. I highly advise you guys to always step back, like I'm doing here on the big picture, right? 5 years, clearly you can see it's been up over times, multiple folds here. But obviously, if you just look at the past year, things have been trending downward for CRISPR Therapeutics. If you take a look at other companies like NTLA, it is still down, in the grand scheme of things. But look, guys, you as an investor, you have to think about where we stand today. Have the fundamentals change? And this is what, the reason why I'm covering a company like Tesla is to show you guys that, in the past, things were um, things were confused. People were confused about Tesla, right? People didn't know where Tesla would be in the next 3, 4, 5 years. This was just in 2017, 18, right? And people were thinking they would be a bankrupt, right? And these same sentiments are felt in CRISPR companies, right? In genomics company and Vitae. And Vitae is one of those companies. I think they're just gonna blow up. I think NVT is just going to blow up. I truly believe that. And I know a lot of you feel that way as well. It's just a lot of you are afraid to say it because you don't want to be put in the history books of being the one that says they're going to blow up when they literally do blow up, just in the negative sense, right? But I do think all these genomics companies are going to experience a huge bull run as we, extend our better market, trade sideways, maybe decline a few percent here and there, but once Cures 2.0 Bill Act gets passed, because it is bipartisan, and once we get more maturity in these markets, and once we solve these macros environments with what's going on in the macro right now, just remember a lot of it is due to the macro and not actually the specific companies. You always got to remember that a lot of these actions, people forget this. People think that CRISPR companies are like CRISPR companies and biotech companies are all in their own world, right? It doesn't work like that. All these assets are like interrelated, right? All these public markets are all interrelated. You have to remind yourselves that macros do matter, right? When we talk about Fed rates, when we talk about inflation, when we talk about Ukraine, what's going on with Ukraine, Russia, US, all of that is all intertwined, right? And unfortunately or fortunately, they are related. So when things are uncertain, when there's a lot of uncertainty in these public markets, biotech being a space where a lot of it is based on future promises, these high growth stocks will definitely be affected. We saw it happen with Tesla. We saw it happen with fintech companies. Just look at Square or Block, now they're called. Look at PayPal. Look at all these companies been hit so hard. Look at Netflix, right? Netflix was hit like 23% in a single day, right? They literally beat expectations. They beat earning per share. They beat revenues. They met their subscribers count for the quarter. Yet, they were down 23%. That is crazy, right? 23% for a company like Netflix. That's like $50 billion wiped off in a single day trading, which is absolutely mind-boggling, right? 50 billion is like so much money, right? And the point I'm saying here is that there are a lot of markets reactions here, and you as an investor, you have to understand that it's not just about companies like CRISPR. It's not just about data that came in from CRISPR Therapeutics. They didn't meet their complete rate response, for example, for CAR T program CTX110. It has nothing to do, in my opinion, about any of these fundamentals. What it does have to do is about macro environment, macro. If you study Econ 201, Economics 201, you will definitely understand what I'm saying here. Macro environments do matter. Governments do matter when it comes to public markets. Unfortunately or fortunately, depends how you see it, depends where you are in your investment thesis or investment life cycle, right? So it is what it is. CRISPR companies, in my opinion, are going to experience a huge growth. I think I've always said that numerous of times. I'm seeing what happened with Tesla in the last 2, 3 years. And I think with genomics companies like biotech companies, not just CRISPR, right? NVTA, DNA, Pacific Bio, um, BNGO, all these companies, right now they're experiencing 50, 60, 70, 80% decline. But over time, as we get out of these turbulent times in the bear markets, I think we'll get in a position where we'll have a huge bull run. Because don't forget, guys, don't forget, institutions make the biggest moves, right? It is what it is, right? You as a retail investor, you putting in two, three, $4,000 of your hard-earned money will not move the markets. Okay, it will not. These players that move the markets are big institutions like BlackRock, right? ARK Invest, right? All these institutions, those are institutions that actually move the markets because their moves affect many other institutions. And then you have these big organizations like, for example, institutions like retirement pension funds, right? And government pension funds, right? These will make the biggest move in markets, right? So you have to remind yourselves that There are a lot of players in these markets, and the biggest players are the ones that make the biggest moves. And these biggest players are definitely not you and me watching this channel, but you as an investor, you have to understand how these players are moving, right? And we as an investors, we believe in long term, right? I often talk to you guys about long term in this channel, and CRISPR companies, biotech companies, genomics companies are set to skyrocket in the future. Again, the CRISPR revolution is here. We are experiencing it. Look at all these published papers every single day, weekly or monthly basis. Look at the growth of base editing, CRISPR-Cas9. Look at clinical trials happening. Look at all these companies coming in, IPOing in the last year, Verve Therapeutics, Graphite Bio, Kaibu Biosciences. Look at the future companies coming in, Prime Medicine, Mammoth Biosciences, Sherlock Biosciences, which is a company that a lot of people are looking into as well. So clearly, biotech is growing. Clearly, genomics is here to stay. ARK Invest made it very, very clear from their ARK, um, from their what's called their 2022 report. I don't know if I can grab it here, the 2022 report here, just to show um, what I'm looking at here. Uh, maybe I won't be able to find it here, but um, yeah, I was hoping maybe I could just grab like the PDF or just something just so that I can show you guys really quickly, but it doesn't look like I will find it. But there was a quote from Kathy Wood that I really loved yesterday in the video. She said, and I'm quoting her, she said I've never seen innovation for sale at this point in my career, right? This is the first time she's seen all these innovative stocks being sold. It is absolutely amazing what's going on in this space. There are so many opportunities. Let's take a look at some of these recent trades here from ARK Invest. This was yesterday. Look at this. They bought some DNA. They sold Vertex, which is a big pharma company, obviously just all about uh, restructuring themselves. But if you take a look at their combined trades here, some of these genomics companies, Editas, they sold Editas, they bought some NTLA, the NTLA, Beam Therapeutics, they're always buying these companies. Unfortunately, they've been selling Editas, you take that for what you will. But look, they're big on CRISPR. They just literally posted a podcast episode today, like I mentioned. Um, like we just took a look at for a reason, right? Just look at their podcast episode listing, right? The last two ones have been CRISPR related, right? The last one was with CRISPR therapeutic CEO Dr. Sam, which we covered in great length in our videos catalog. To go take a look. And then today, CRISPR Revolution. That's their title, right? CRISPR Revolution. I don't know how to make it more simple to you guys. For you to understand that this technology is here to stay, these companies are here to stay. These companies, there may be consolidation here and there, and if you're so uncomfortable with this space, then there's always the RG fund for a reason, right? I am not a fan of ETFs. I'm not a fan of funds. I've already made a video on it. But when it comes to CRISPR companies, when it comes to genomics companies, there are a lot of bull cases here. And Vite, there was an article from Health and Wealth from a report there. She actually wrote a beautiful article on Vite, and I'm planning to cover it at some point. So Invite's, biggest bull believe that their data is going to be the one driving them forward. They have the technology, they can leverage big data, AI, and then build these partnerships. Ultimately you need trust. It's not just about data. It's not just building a nice tech. It's about trust, building partnerships. And then healthcare is very sticky, right? A lot of people talk good about Teladoc for that particular reason, right? Healthcare is sticky, right? Once it's in there, it is in there. So keep that in mind, right? So beautiful things happening in this space, guys. I'm gonna end this video like this, or this live stream rather. I mean, I didn't really see anything come up in the chat here. Again, thank you so much for watching, guys. I just wanted to go over Tesla report, just like what we did, breaking records, beautiful what they're doing. I'm looking forward for 2022 for this company, specifically for products like robotaxis, cyber Maybe next year we'll be talking a lot more about that Tesla AI box. Let me know what you guys think. about Tesla in the comments below, but more specific about the markets. Don't forget macro markets do matter. Genomic stocks are basically down or trading sideways at this point. But again, long term, believe in the long term thesis, guys, and always think long term, right? Always think about what we can achieve in the future and what this technology brings to the table, right? Always believe that, and then try to look at what these big institutions are doing, right? I think I think there's like 80% of institutions own Beam Therapeutics, but only like 55% of institutions own CRISPR Therapeutics. So think of that, right? Think of these numbers, try to make it what you will, again, we're not asking you guys to literally, to invest in something you don't know. You have to do your own research, you have to build your conviction. But again, if the fundamentals have not changed long term, we believe CRISPR is here to stay. CRISPR companies are here to stay. I'm gonna end this video like this. I already went well over 30 minutes. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Again, do subscribe if you found value, like this video, and thank you so much for watching. And now I will jump on the Tesla earnings call where I'll be learning more about Tesla. So hopefully I'll see you guys there. Thank you.